anywhere from 10 to 100 feet long. So if we had a gasoline spill, most of those are built for petrol products, and we're basically going to make a giant swimming pool or some type of dike or dam to absorb all of that. And then again, we're leaving that on scene, built to absorb an abundant amount of material, and then we're leaving it on scene. They usually need to be sandbagged or spiked down, but again, we would work with you guys on doing that. So that's on one side of the coffin. The other side are little black steps that we're going to use for decon. So as you're walking through your pools in decon, they're going to start to fill up with product, right? Or water, whatever you're using, and that's dirty product. It becomes a hazardous waste. So we don't want you to step in it, so we have these little black plastic steps. There's like 40 of them up there that we're going to lay down so that you're stepping on those to stay up high enough out of that hazardous waste as you're going through decon, or as we're going through decon, or the public, or whoever. Those will be used for everybody. All right. The side compartments are a little bit of a hodgepodge. This has level B suits in it. What's a level B suit? Do you remember? Just under A. Yes. What's a level A suit?
Just above B.
So a level A is fully encapsulating. That's the big Gumby suits, the giant screen in the front. They do not let any air in or out. So there's no vent on them. We have to be an SCBA because you're just creating carbon dioxide on the inside, so you have to be an SCBA. A level B could be just a hood that comes over here, so it's not fully encapsulating. It could have a vent on it, or it's something that we're going to wear SCBA on the outside of. So we still put our mask on, then we put the hood over just like you would putting bunker gear on, and then the SCBA harness backpack goes on the outside of the suit. A level A, everything is inside. So a couple different options there. We also have Tyvek suits, that would be for the public mostly, and then some pools. So these just spring open, maybe 5 feet around. These are big rectangles, all for decon, and then some different products that we would either use for decon to create solutions, or that we could mitigate a corrosive with. Pretty rare that we're ever going to try and neutralize a corrosive, but in some circumstances that's our only option. So if we get a strong acid, we're going to use a strong base like soda ash to try and get it closer to 7, or if it's a strong base, we use a strong acid. Again, very rare that we would do that. Those are used mostly to create our decon solutions. If we're not just going to spray them with water or soap and water, then we're going to create some kind of mixture.
So when you guys fill up those pools, you leave them there, you let the third party take that stuff, and you just get moving.
Correct. Yep. Nothing that we do is cheap. But again, it's not on you or the city of St. Francis. That is the responsible party. So if we were going somewhere where we're going to set up decon, meaning we're going to go in, so we're already going to have 2 level A's, level B's, whatever it is. We're going to be going through a few pools. We're going to go through a couple showers. Our showers also, once we start spraying stuff with them, are dirty, so we're going to leave them. We're probably talking 20,000 plus, easily. If we get into absorbent pads and start using those, none of those are cheap. So, but again, it's not. We're not making any money off of it. It's just a matter of that's what this stuff costs because it's made for hazmat. So of course they charge us an arm and a leg, so we have to do the same just to recuperate all of our costs.
Are you guys all like knowledgeable in identifying the problem as far as science and all that?
Yeah, so we have a couple specialists on the team that we use for specific things, like Mike is the monitor guy, not just for our team, but basically the entire state.
Mike's kind of the everything guy.
We have
all
chemists.
You guys are like certified to identify the problem.
Yeah, we know how, we're all familiar enough with all this equipment to use it properly and to more than likely get a positive ID on whatever the chemical is. There is instances we will not. Okay, guess what? There's instances when teams have sent stuff to MDH, and MDH goes,
And they're one of the best labs in the country, maybe even the world.
Yeah.
They're a level 1 lab.
Combinations of chemicals that are out there.
Right.
Very rarely will we come across something that's
Like
very
you can
specific.
find, you would know if it's anthrax or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
And anything that is terroristic or biological, meaning it's a living organism, we're going to stop very quickly. We're going to say, yep, that's possibly anthrax
That's
or
some bad
ricin or
shit.
terrorism. We're stopping there. That's when we take sample, we're sending it off to MDH, and they got to go through their thing, and they're calling everybody up to the president, basically, if you get a hit on anthrax. You know, if we get something more popular nowadays, like fentanyl or carfentanil, we'll be able to identify that pretty quickly with our Gemini machine. Say, yep, that's what it is. It's bad. Don't touch it. Okay, we're gonna leave.
Okay.
A lot of times it's pretty simple, but most of the chemicals now are mixed together, and the library is pure chemicals. So it may not be able to recognize a mixture of something. Usually it's mixed with water, and it could be as much as 99% water. So as soon as we put it into a machine, and it's built to recognize 100% of that, if it's only 5% or 10%, the machine might not be able to recognize that. Which isn't a bad thing because it's diluted, so it's probably not as strong as what you're thinking it is anyways. All right, keep moving here. So just like when you show up on a fire scene, you could be sitting anywhere in that truck expected to do almost anything. The same is true in hazmat. We have 5 different positions that have to be filled. We're all trained to fill any one of those positions. Our rank on the fire ground has nothing to do with where we're at in hazmat. You know, I'm an assistant chief, Justin's a firefighter, Mike is a previous lieutenant. Doesn't mean anything in hazmat world. We're all filling whatever role is necessary on the hazmat team. Some of us, again, specialize in certain things more than others, so we'll utilize those skills, but beyond that, we could be doing whatever is necessary that day. So we'll take some of this out later, but a majority of the bins are big inflatable tents. A lot of your incidences are going to be when it's cold out, right? It's Minnesota. We're not going to let everybody strip down naked when it's 10 degrees outside. So we're going to put big inflatable tents up. We have heaters. We have hot water heaters. That's right here. So that we can do decon in an enclosed shelter. Some more pools, more PPV fans, bunch of hoses, showers. This is basically all decon back here. We have folding chairs, scrub brushes, 5-gallon buckets, solutions like as simple as laundry detergent to simple green. Everything in this back end is for decon. And then in there, those are exactly what they show on the outside, just little like spray nozzles, like you might use fertilizer on your lawn, so that we can put solution out from a little spray bucket. And then an overpack drum. So this is built for a 55-gallon drum. If we can't seal up the bung on the top, or it's got a puncture that we're going to seal up somehow, even after we seal that, we're still going to get it inside of an overpack in case it releases again or it starts to pressurize, heat up, whatever the case. We're going to get it in an overpack so that if it does rupture or release, it's all happening inside of this container. Okay, it's built out of poly so that we can put a steel or a poly drum inside here without a lot of risk. And then this is staying on scene for the cleanup contractor. They're going to take the whole thing and decide what they're doing with it, hazardous waste or whatever they got to do. And we don't have to use it for a 55-gallon drum. We can use it for a little propane tank or a 5-gallon bucket or whatever. But that's the only overpack that we carry other than that big white thing for a chlorine tank. We do have a generator, propane. That'll power everything on the truck and trailer once we're on scene. Some more PPE, level A suits, boots, hard hats. Our level A suits are over 2,000 a piece, and they're basically a one-time use if we get them dirty. And then everyone can take a look at here, but it is like a mobile office. We have 4 computers with all those fancy softwares on them for plume cloud modeling, bunch of databases, resources for science officer, the stuff that we talked about with the monitoring equipment. There's a little refrigerator, printer. The cabinets are all full of books, basically guidebooks for every monitor that we have. All of our PPE, we need to make sure that it's compatible with whatever chemical that we're dealing with, obviously. So everything is resources for the most part. This little bathroom? What's in there? Just decon. Oh, and here. Yeah. So this was meant to be a bathroom. You can come up in here if you want. We never used it as that because we knew we would never use a bathroom or want to deal with it. So it just collects more monitoring equipment. Okay. Closet, basically. Yep. All of our calibration equipment is in here as well. We calibrate all of our monitors, which you've seen them now. There's like 50 of them. We calibrate them monthly, and then whenever we go on scene, we have to bump test whatever monitors we're going to use, because we need to be able to prove we could be brought to court very realistically. We need to be able to prove that whatever the monitor read was accurate that day. So if we come out across the street and you think you have a chlorine leak, before we go downrange to that chlorine monitor, we need to bump test it with chlorine. Say, yep, it's reading, there's 100 parts per million of chlorine in our bottle. The monitor says 100 parts per million. We're good to go. Now we're going to go downrange, and we can guarantee that that monitor is accurate.
With that, we're going to bump test. We're going to do it twice.
Yeah.
Before we go downrange, and then when we get back, when we come back uprange.
Especially with those toxic gases, the sensors are so fragile, and like your 4-gas, for instance, would never be able to detect a toxic gas like that. So the monitors that we use for those types of things, we have to be very accurate and make sure that we have our sensors working the way that they should. So this is an area array. We have 6 of them. 2 that are newer that look like this. This is your 4-gas on mega steroids. 10,000 each?
No, because of the way, well, it depends on what ups and extras you get. That particular unit and its configuration right now is 12.
It's 12 grand piece for these bad boys, but this is what I was talking about with area monitoring. So I would bring this out. I'm setting up my warm zone. Okay, if you had a gasoline spill, how do you know where your warm zone is? Or your cold zone? How do you know a safe zone and an unsafe zone?
When we stop detecting the presence.
When you stop detecting the presence. So what is gasoline going to show up on your 4-gas monitor? How will you know that you have gasoline in the air? You'll be able to see it. If you spilled a 5-gallon thing of gasoline on your driveway and you put your 4-gas meter over it, what would show up? Or diesel fuel.
What
or
sensor?
Your LEL.
Your LEL, right? Lower explosive limit. So anything that's off gassing is going to show toxic gas. Is going to show an LEL, right? So if we're using that scenario, you spilled the 5-gallon of gasoline on your driveway, where would you set up your cold zone based on LEL? Let's say there's no wind, so it's going to be a perfect circle around your gasoline spill.
Straight up above it.
Okay, so everything's going straight up, right? So we don't want anyone going over it. But how far away do we need people to be?
Past the warm zone.
Okay, and where is your warm zone? Because this would be something you guys will have to do before we set up. You're going to have to say, this is hot, this is cold, this is warm.
When you're not reading any more LEL.
When you're not reading anything. So LEL is 0. When you are walking towards this thing and all of a sudden it goes to 1, that's your warm zone, right? As soon as you get any reading whatsoever, that's your warm zone. Okay, so if I'm walking towards the gasoline and my monitor starts to go to 1, okay, right where I stop between 0 and 1, this monitor's going down, it gets turned on, and everything that we see on there we can now see on the computer. This is going to read radiological, it's going to be everything in my 4-gas, and it's going to be a PID. So we get 6+ monitors all in one. I can't really control it from the computer, but I can see everything that's on the screen and all the readings. So we know that that's supposed to be at 0. So now we get a gust of wind, and this thing starts going off at 10% LEL. Now I know, oh crap, I need to change. Now my cold zone's going to have to move back to 0. So now someone can come out. But imagine that we have 6 of these set up in our perimeter. So as the wind changes or as conditions change, as one of them goes off, now I can go and adjust. And we can put tape in between them to set up our zone or whatever we need to do. If you look very closely and go places that you're not supposed to at like a Vikings game or a Twins game, you will see these all over the place. And that's the 55th doing their perimeter monitoring. They'll have dozens of these set up around the perimeter of Target Field and US Bank doing monitoring, because if an explosive or something else came into range, a biologic, toxic gas, this is going to pick it up instantly before it starts hurting people, killing people, and they'll be able to see that from one common location on their computer. So 2 of them are kept in here just for charging capabilities, and we have 4 of them up on the truck as well. So it's basically a 4-gas, but a lot more capability on it. Hard hats, we have to wear them inside of our suits, and then some product control. we have a few different things full of plugs. This is just one of them. This is all full of wooden plugs and wedges, that sort of thing. So if we had a puncture in a drum, we have a few ways to deal with it, but one of them would be using wood wedges and wood plugs. We also have inflatable ones like your airbags for lifting up cars, and then we have some rubber and metal ones as well. Just depends on the product that we're dealing with and the type of drum. And then when we were talking about chlorine, we have an A, a B, and a C kit, and those are so named because one of them will help patch a single cylinder, a stand-up cylinder. Some of them will help patch valves, and some of them will help patch an actual opening on a rail car at the very top where all that housing is. So anything dealing with chlorine, as long as it's a pipe, a valve, a malfunction like that, and it's not a shear puncture into a tank, we should be hopefully able to patch it or at least slow it down. We might not be able to stop the leak, but at least slow it down. So A, B, and C kit each have their specific use. And they're really meant just for chlorine, but we could use them on really any cylinder of that same shape or size that's leaking a gas. Questions on that? Okay, SCBAs. We have hour bottles instead of your half hour, but same old MSA G1s. Some more MSAs in there. We carry a lot of PAPRs. Not very frequently that we're going to use a face respirator. Usually just going to default right to an SCBA. We're all comfortable with it. We know what it is. It's by far the safest that we could do. But if we were going to use a cartridge, when would we be able to use a face shield with a cartridge on it?
Depending on the chemical.
Okay, so you have to know what the chemical is, first of all, because each of these are for a specific chemical or group of chemicals. They're not a one-fits-all. And what else must be true before we're going to use that instead of an SCBA? We can never use this in an IDLH environment. It's not rated for that. So these were not made for hazardous material response. They were made for people working in an environment with hazardous materials so that they could keep this on, you know, while they're working a regular shift or doing something quick with a material, and then they take it off at low levels. It is not meant for mitigating emergency situations. So we very rarely would be in a situation where we're wearing them, but we do have them available. More non-sparking tools, our vests for all of our IC positions. A kit is back behind here, and then we do have a few patch type kits that we can put over dome covers. This specific is for a tanker truck that rolls over. If you're not familiar, most of them have a spring-loaded clasp that comes down on the side of the truck or on the top. So this would spring-load over that, and we would pressure this down to close that. So
the seal and the cap are
mechanism
still
broke.
in good shape.
Yeah.
The locking mechanism is broken.
And we have a few different tools that are very similar to that, basically function the same way. Alright, and then the last compartment there is some more monitoring equipment. So some more area arrays. We have a couple radiological monitors. Again, RAD is kind of its own world, radiological. Hopefully something we never have to deal with, but it's the first thing that we screen for because it's the most dangerous, obviously. And if we ever get anything radiologic, we're probably not going to be the ones dealing with it. Unless it's something really mild, we're probably calling in someone else. So, but we need to rule it out first because it is the most dangerous, then we move on to explosive, and then we go down our whole gamut. So these are the older area arrays. They cannot detect radiologic, but still your 4-gas monitor. It looks exactly like your guys' MSA on the inside, basically. Yes, sir?
Those can detect gamma.
That's right. Hence it says gamma on there. That's right. Do you remember radiological, all the different levels? Alpha, beta, gamma, and
Neutron and X-ray. X-ray.
Neutron.
Neutron and X-ray.
So we're mostly worried about which ones.
Gamma.
Gamma for the most part. Alpha and beta particles are not all that dangerous to us. Alpha for sure. It's going through the air constantly. Beta can be, but gamma's the one that we're most concerned with. And then what else? So already talked about some of these, but drum patching kit. Forklift through a 55-gallon drum. Happens all the time. This is meant to be exactly like a forklift fork. So we put it into the puncture, hook it up to our little pump, just like your airbags, to lift the car up. It inflates, and now the puncture is sealed. Then it goes into the overpack drum. We leave the whole thing there for the cleanup crew, and we are on our way. It sounds that simple, but first we need to know what we're going into, what PPE we're going to wear, make sure it's compatible with the chemical, set up decon, do our medical checks, have 2 in, 2 out, and then we'll go in and put that patch in. So the actual work takes 30 seconds, but the precursor to all that is half an hour long.
Is the bunk caps are still on it? Just to mitigate a leak in the 55-gallon drum.
And then just some pipe patching. We have all sorts of pipe patching capabilities, whether it's a gas, a liquid, doesn't really matter. A few different tools to help stop those leaks. Usually you're going to have a shut-off valve so that you can shut that off long before we get there to do anything with that. And then these are just like those wooden plugs, but we have rubber ones, some steel ones, different shapes and sizes so that we can plug small punctures into a drum or another tank. It doesn't have to be a drum. I think that's about it. Questions on anything? So the whole point of this is just to show you guys what we have so that hopefully you understand a little bit better when to call us or what capabilities we have. Most people have a small conception of what we're capable of doing or why you would call us, why you would need us, but really it's a wide variety of things that we can provide. Whether it's the full-fledged unknown and we're going to come out with the whole thing, or it could just be Mike coming out there literally with this little thing in hand and telling you, yep, you got a radiological, let's make a phone call, or no you don't, or it's at a low enough level that you don't need to worry about it.
Pretty much when in doubt, call state duty.
Absolutely. State duty officer's never going to be mad at you. They may deny your request. Yep. And I can tell you that if you just want to talk to one of us on the phone, that's something that you could do through 2800. We'll take care of the state duty officer thing. Or if you want to talk to us because you don't know whether you should call us, then we can have a conversation on the phone and we can confirm, yep, we'll come out and help you with this. We'll just tell you right over the phone, call state duty officer, go through the steps while we get everybody together and start heading your way.